Okay, so so I've done a little bit of googling in regards to this place, and it tells me that it was built in 1145.
I've got the deeds in Norman French, and they're all in Gloucester Records Office. And in those deeds, they've been transcribed because I can't read Normandy French, and it says that the building dates back to time immemorial, which is 1145, Richard the Lionheart's reign.
Okay.
So that means that the building was built before records began, before memory actually logged the event. But what I do know is this is on the original Bronze Age settlement. Potter's Pond is across the road and would have been alongside the Ram at the time, and it's highly likely that there was a settlement of some kind underneath our feet back then. We've actually seen in some old historic records that Edric gave 4 hides in this area to another Saxon person, I can't remember the name, and it's highly likely that this was part and parcel of that land. Okay.
So it is truly a very, very old building with a lot of history. Yeah,
the barn is, as you probably know, it's Grade 2 start listed.
Yes.
Well, the most historic part of the Ram, according to English Heritage, is the barn area, which is behind us. And it is believed that that was a Saxon prayer house.
Right.
And if you look at them on the internet, you'll see that it's a very similar shape and size to a Saxon prayer house, and could have been an original worshipping site way before the church was put on the pagan worshipping site on top of the hill. And also there is evidence that Saxon scribes had their own building in Berkeley, in the estate of Berkeley Castle, which Berkeley Castle used to own. I've got the deeds which show the Berkeleys owned the Ram and the estate the Ram was on. And we've also got a 9 men's morris at the top of the stairs, which is a 9 men's morris etched onto a Cotswold stone at the top of the stairs. Now, it could have come during the Reformation from the dissolution of Kingswood Abbey, but even so, to have a Cotswold stone in the building with a 9 men's morris game on it, which dates back to Roman times, indicates that there are religious connections with this building.
Yes. Right. So. I understand. No,
it's ancient.
It is, yes, and it has an apt title, The Ancient Ram Inn. I understand that it is actually built on a pagan burial site.
It could be, and diviners have found so many bodies here, and the church is actually on a pagan site. If you look at I haven't got it with me, but I've got a 14th century map of this area. It shows the Ram was a T-shape, so the front of this place went on twice as far up the road as it does at the moment, and the church, most churches were put on top of pagan worshipping sites to encourage the pagans to come and worship Christianity, which is on top of the hill. And if they used to sacrifice bodies back in those days, then it's highly likely that they are down here. But if you think there was a settlement here from possibly 900, even 1145, we are on top of lots of bones.
Yes. And I understand that they are the ancient Ram Inn is built on top of ley lines as well.
Across, one from Stonehenge. So it's considered to be the M5 of spiritual activity because of that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So your dad, how long, from when did he actually own this place?
1968 he bought it.
Right.
I'll tell you a funny story behind that. Sir Arthur Evans, the archaeologist that discovered the Minotaur's Palace in Crete, his sister, Dame Joan Evans, lived at the top of the hill in Wootton under Edge. And my father knew her before she died, and he just finished renovating a lovely little Cotswold stone cottage 5 miles away where I was born in Berkeley Hospital, and I was brought up in this lovely little cottage. My dad being a carpenter and a joiner by trade after he came out of the RAF, he was looking for somewhere to restore a historic building and use as a guest house for bed and breakfast. So Dame Joan Evans suggested to Dad to buy this property. It had laid derelict for 5 years. It was a pub in 1965 and it wasn't licensed anymore.
Right.
And we moved in, I was 7 in 1968. It's full of cobwebs and cockroaches, and I didn't understand why Daddy had brought me to a horrible place like this. But it was to run as a business.
Right. Right. And so he actually run it as a...
Very few years, yes.
Yeah.
A lot of our customers jumped out the window and went elsewhere.
Right. Okay.
And Dad didn't believe in ghosts because he was trained to be a Baptist minister when he left the RAF, and he used to preach on the street corners of Bath when he was a 20-year-old.
So what then changed his mind?
Well, he believed in the Holy Ghost, and after a few years of the experiences here, in fact, the first night he was in bed over the grave over there.
So that was his bed?
It was his bedroom, to start with, and the grave wasn't dug up then.
Yeah.
And he had his hands behind his back like this, and he got dragged through the wall. His wrists went back. His wrists were grabbed hold of and pulled backwards. It terrified him. He never went anywhere without his Bible after that.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
After the family left and he was here on his own and he experienced so much activity, he thought, well, if he believed in the Holy Ghost, then perhaps he should believe in the host of ghosts that seem to be here with him.
Okay, right. I have read that there are quite a lot of interesting sort of facts about this place, in that there is apparently a witch that is supposed to have sought refuge here, in obviously what is now called the witch's room. Yeah,
but I prefer to call her a healer. An herbalist, because that's basically what they were in those days. And as far as I know, they didn't do any wrong. It's just that people were suspicious of their methods and how strong herbs are, and everything. It was unusual. And yes, she did apparently seek refuge. She could have also been a lady of the night that didn't curry favour with the powers that be here. It was a hospitality many moons ago, and whether she worked here and was, women weren't very highly looked at. They were sort of looked down on, and they were just workers. And whether she didn't do what she was told, but there was a lady that was supposed to have been thrown down the stairs and murdered. Whether that was Elspeth, as I believe her name is, the witch, I'm not sure. But we also hear a cat crying quite clearly, quite often here. And I don't have a cat in here. You've got as far as I know, apart from the dead one.
The one that's in the cage through there. One. And was that actually found here while doing renovations? Yeah, Dad found it underneath the fireplace of the bishop's room. Right.
And Dad found all these fireplaces. I remember when we moved in, they were all small bricked up fireplaces, and he uncovered all the ingun up fireplaces, including the oldest timber framed window in the UK over there. But the cat, yes, it was mummified, and not like Tutankhamun, but the lime render in a wall actually protects the skin.
Right.
And he was put in there for good luck, protection, I don't know what, but the rats have been eating his feet, so he didn't do a good job of the rodents.
Right. I've also heard that this building has, and I believe it is there where the grave where there've been children's sacrificial.
The reason we think it's sacrificial is because when Dad dug up the bones, sent them to Bristol University to be analysed, and there is a report to say they were a bit too old to assess whether they were human or animal, but they did still do the analysis, and now, however, they say they've lost the bones. But what was definitely there in that grave were the remains of 2 daggers, and Dad had them in a glass case just behind that semicircular settle on display for many years. Somebody stole them.
That's a pity.
The only evidence we've got that they were there is from Zach in Ghost Adventures. Made a video when he came here, first of all, and they are on that piece of footage. You can clearly see them, and they were all in little pieces put together in the shape of 2 daggers.
Right. I'll have to find that episode.
Yeah, I've managed to just take a quick screenshot of the video, but that is all I actually have to prove that they were here.
Now the bishop's room, I believe that is so called because the bishop used to sleep in that room when he stayed here.
Yes.
But I also understand that there are supposed to be the demons that reside in that room.
Yes, Edward, the hooded spirit that resides in the barn, he travels around the ram, and he is most notorious in the bishop's room. I don't know if he is or was the bishop. I know he's got a brother called Michael, and he stops Michael from going to the light and holds him here for some reason. There's also been cavaliers seen up there and Romans walking through. I don't know if you know, by the side of the steps of the front door there's a little bit of soil, and we started to dig that up recently, and there's another original wall to the ram under there which the archaeologists said could be Roman. So there's all sorts of things going on here for all sorts of reasons.
Oh yes, definitely. And I also believe that there was, it's down as an innkeeper's daughter took her own life in the attic.
Yes, I had heard that, or a female had died in the attic, yes. I personally have not experienced this lady. Other people have. What I've encountered in the attic is a small boy.
Right.
And Barry Guy's actually videoed the I don't know, it's a dark shape and it just grows arms and legs and a head and runs across the wall. And I've seen that myself. And I lived in the attic for a year, and I got the impression I shouldn't read my tarot cards here. When I left here at 13, I was proficient at reading tarot cards and finding out who my next boyfriend was going to be. But
so you were 13-year-old when you left?
Yes, yes. I got into trouble at school, and it was recommended my mother would look after me better, a better influence than my father.
Right.
Anyway, so tarot card reader I was at such a young age. Anyway, I came back to live with Dad in my 30s, and I thought, I just had a feeling, I'd never really experienced a great deal here, but I had a feeling I shouldn't get my tarot cards out. So they remained wrapped in a silk cloth in a wooden box, tight lid on them. And we heard a noise, and it was an awful noise. It was like, well, I know it's poltergeist activity now, having experienced it so many times. There's a lot of noise, like furniture's being broke. So going into my old bedroom in the attic, I was looking for my 6-month-old Rottweiler that might have been looking for rats or mice, and no sign of him. And of course, it's always dark up there. So I looked down the attic stairs. No dog, but my bedside cabinet was stuck sideways at the bottom of the attic stairs.
Oh wow.
And all my tarot cards and my books that were in that cabinet went downstairs with the cabinet.
Yes.
And when we had to move the cabinet to get out from the bottom of the stairway, there's tarot cards everywhere, all over the floor. And the 3 of Pentacles and the 3 of Swords had holes through them. They were screwed up and really badly damaged. And that was my introduction to the paranormal, and hand on heart, don't have a problem selling this as a haunted house after experiencing that. But thank God I never saw that happen. If I had, I probably wouldn't be sat here now talking to you.
So those 2 cards that you say were actually torn and ripped up?
Yes.
What was the meanings?
Well, the 3 of Pentacles means an education, you know, an apprenticeship, which me and my partner really certainly did live. I don't know if you've ever lived with your parents when you were an adult, but they certainly treat you like children. And Dad was a World War II baby and didn't agree with using lights, electric or hot water. And it was chaos for a little while. Right. So I could understand the significance there. The 3 of Swords was the other one. Well, we were having problems, all 3 of us together living here, because of our conflict with Dad. Although he was a lovely, gentle man, and I love him to bits, and I miss him terribly. At that time, it was difficult. So I think it was definitely quite poignant.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll ask you one last question, because obviously I know that you're probably a very busy woman. So you lived here till you were 13 years old.
Yeah.
In that time of you obviously moving in here to obviously moving out of here, what is your most memorable, or the one memory that you say is the scariest moment that you have had here?
Well, there wasn't one, because in 1968 one didn't talk about ghosts or ghost hunting, and my dad was a very deeply religious chap. And he didn't want to scare his children. He didn't want to scare their family away. So it was never discussed. And if you did talk about ghosts in even the early 70s, people would laugh at you or put you into a nut house, one of the two. I wasn't quite sure which, but it wasn't significant back then. But I do remember bringing in some white flowers. It wasn't crocuses. They were like little bluebells. I can't remember what the name of them right off the top of my head. But Mum said, "Oh, you can't bring them in there, bad luck." And then a picture fell off the wall. Oh, she said that means someone's going to die. And it was all these local sayings. And the next thing, that my guinea pig died shortly after. And I thought, well, that's a bit strange. But that was the sum total of my paranormal events here. All I can say is I left here being a really good tarot card reader, and I don't know what it was that made me want to read tarot cards at such a young age, but I was really good at it. So I think something influenced me.
Possibly very much so, yes. Yes. Thank you, Caroline.
Go for it.
Yeah.
When I left here on Sunday night, I came with a crowd of people that I know, and I'd only stayed for a couple of hours. When I got home, it was a full moon, wasn't it? I don't know why. I think that's significant.
It was, yeah.
But I got in the car the next morning and walked the dog. What day is it today?
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. That was Monday. It was yesterday. I thought it was. And I'm getting back in the car, and I thought I had a leaf stuck to my radiator grill. I thought, oh, I better get that off. And I bent down and looked at it. It was a bloody bat.
A bat?
I had run over a bat, or it had run into me, and it was stuck to my radiator grill.
It's dead, or...? It
was dead, thank God, because I think it happened when I was leaving here, but I was going to get a bat detector a couple of days ago, and I don't know why, that's just so bloody weird, and I couldn't pull it off. I couldn't touch it. I don't know why. I haven't got a problem with bats, but I just felt so bad because I'd run this bat over, or it had run into me. It was only a little one, and his little wings were all wrapped around it, and I could see all the bones. Oh, it was horrible. But anyway, I went down to the garage, and I said to the lady, I said to the chap there, because I was booked in for a service on Thursday, I said, "Can you get this bat off my radiator grill, please?" He went, that's different, Caroline.
Well, thank you so much, Caroline, for obviously going through, the history of this place and the hauntings that reside here. Hopefully tonight we have a very active and very interesting night.
I'm sure you will.
And stay tuned for the investigation.